Alright, I work a full-time job in tech and dedicating my time to creative projects is difficult. But it's also needed as it balances out the logical and creative part of my life. So some time ago I decided to take some action and get in control of my own time. I'm going to tell you what I went through and what I learned, and I hope it helps you if you're going through the same. First thing is to use a calendar to visualize where time's going. Using a calendar for everything in general, I was doing for years already for organizing my life, work, and it helped on providing a visual on if I have even time to start something new. As always, the tool doesn't really matter. I use different calendar providers such as Gmail, Outlook, iCloud, whatever, you name it. It was more about having somewhere to see where my time is going. To maximize accuracy, I decided to add how much time I even spent sleeping and how much time I even spent working. The big two chunks of my day that I pretty much couldn't change. These were about 8 hours each, and these were also parts of what I call the routine, which is also important because you want to identify these blocks easily to plan around them. I use the same colors or the same calendars for these activities. Work and sleep are not the only routine activities though. I had other chores such as walking my dog, commitments such as classes, events, and even lunch, dinner, and commutes. It might feel over the top, but I really wanted to know how much time I had for my creative projects. This process made me realize that I would definitely not have the time for everything that I wanted to do, which is a hard pill to swallow, to be honest, but again, let's not lie to ourselves and work with the time that we have for the most important things that we can. Second point was defining goals. First, the point where I messed up. I jumped straight ahead into planning and doing activities that filled in the calendar without putting too much thought on the process itself. But then I realized that I was spending time on things that were just busy work and not really valuable for me. A tell here was that at the end of a busy day, I felt like I really did nothing but a bunch of stuff that I wasn't even sure if it took me anywhere. So watch out for those. This is also where the OKR system comes into play. If you work in tech, product management, or business, you probably know about this, but if you're not familiar with it, I'll break it down as simple as I can. OKR stands for Objectives and Key Results. And don't let the management lingo confuse you, it is a simple concept. It is a goal-setting system that allows you to focus on where you want to go, the objective, and define a few activities that will take you there, the key results. Let me show you my example. In my case, after a long session of reflection, I realized that I do creative work not with the main objective of making money, but to balance out my life and share my art and journey. That is my objective. In order to get me there are a few actions that I've defined for myself, the key results, and these are publishing photos and write about my creative journey. There can be more, but I decided to start small. Doing more of these actions will balance out my life and allowed me to start sharing more. These activities might start or need other actions, but they are at the core of the goal, so I'll only track this for now. Next, it was key for me to define the time period. I used 2 weeks, and I'll explain why in a bit, and in the end, the time period is up to each of us. So it's very personal. You have to do some introspection for it. Next up is fitting it all in the calendar. This is the moment where everything comes together and when I had to dive deep into how much time I actually needed. This was tricky because, as I mentioned before, there are some adjacent activities to the key results that can creep up on you. For example, for publishing pictures, I needed to have pictures to publish in the first place, so I needed to go out and shoot. This takes time, at least a couple of hours at a time. And the story doesn't even end there. I also needed time for culling, editing, exporting, and publishing. And that's only on the photo front. I also make these videos which need ideating, writing, editing, and publishing. So back to the notepad, I wrote all these activities down with a rough estimate on how much time they take, just to have a bird's eye view and eventually see if they even fit the time period I set for myself. And here's where I again fell into a rabbit hole of trying to fit too much in my week and ended up frustrated and even burned out from my own hobby. Imagine that. Trust me, you really don't want to be there. So I reflected on why am I doing this, and this is actually where having the goal really helped. And with that in mind, I went back and fine-tuned the process a bit more. This is where I gave myself the 2-week period, as it allows for more space compared to 1 week, which was my original period. I had to accept I might not go on as many shoots as I wanted, but I'll do it as often as I can. With this fine-tuning in place, I could add the proper blocks to the calendar, and of course, using specific colors for these activities, just so that I can track them easily in the future. The other thing I added to my OKR system was a concrete number on how often I wanted to do these key results in the 2-week period. For me, it was publishing at least 10 times in 2 weeks and writing 6 times in the same period. Finally, results may vary depending on the person, and in my experience, it needs a lot of fine-tuning, flexibility, and knowing yourself, but going through the process of setting up goals and results that directly contribute to them, it's super important if you want to make sure that the few hours you have available for your projects are well spent. I don't think this process of fine-tuning ever ends. It's an ever-moving subject, but we have to accept that. So give it a try, add your own personal spice to it, and form your own opinion. I would love to hear it in the comments. Cheers!